meeting of Howell Township Council to order. Opening statement.
This meeting is being held in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice has been provided in the manner prescribed by law. This agenda is complete to the extent known, and formal action will be taken. I'll begin with a roll call. Councilman Fisher? Here. Councilman Nadell? Councilman O'Donnell?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Gager?
Here.
Mayor Leggio?
Here.
Thank you.
Mr. Clark, is there a need to go into an executive session this evening?
Yes, there is, Mr. Mayor. We have topics to discuss, including contracts, attorney-client privilege, and litigation.
So Resolution 25-154.
I'd like to make a motion to accept Resolution 25-154.
Second?
Councilman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gager?
Yes.
Mayor Leggio?
Yes.
Thank you.
Reconvene meeting, please.
I'll begin with a roll call. Councilwoman Fisher?
Here.
Councilman Nadell?
Here.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Gager?
Here.
Mayor Leggio?
Here.
Thank you.
Please stand for Pledge of Allegiance and individual moment of prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a few proclamations. Could Anthony please come forward and his family? One or two?
Okay. Whereas May 14th, 2025 is Childhood Apraxia of Speech Day, during which awareness will be raised throughout Howell Township about childhood apraxia of speech, an extremely challenging speech disorder that affects 1 in 1,000 children. And whereas childhood apraxia of speech causes children to have significant difficulty learning to speak and is among the most severe speech deficits in children. And whereas the act of learning to speak comes effortlessly to most children, however, those with apraxia require early, appropriate, and intensive speech therapy, often for many years, to learn to speak. And whereas without appropriate speech therapy intervention, children with apraxia will have diminished communication skills and are also at high risk for secondary impacts in reading, writing, spelling, and other school-related skills. And whereas such primary and secondary impacts diminish future independence and employment opportunities, and challenge the ability to become productive, contributing citizens if not resolved and improved. And whereas public awareness about childhood apraxia of speech in Howell Township is essential for families of children with this neurological disorder and the professionals who support them to achieve the needed services for those learning to use their own voice. And whereas our highest respect goes to these children and their families for their effort, determination, and resilience in the face of such obstacles. Now, therefore, the governing body of the Township of Howell does hereby proclaim May 14, 2025 as Apraxia Awareness Day in Howell Township to increase awareness and understanding of childhood apraxia of speech. Is this for the Baldizone family?
One more proclamation for National Police Week. Mr. Nadell will read the proclamation.
Whereas there are approximately 900,000 law enforcement officers serving communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Howell Township Police Department. And whereas Peace Officers Memorial Day was created on October 1st, 1961, when Congress authorized President John F. Kennedy to designate May 15th to honor peace officers. The week of each year during which May 15th occurs was proclaimed National Police Week. And whereas the police officers of America work devotedly and selflessly on behalf of the people of this nation, regardless of the peril or hazard to themselves. These officers safeguard the lives and property of their fellow Americans. And whereas during Police Week, tens of thousands of law enforcement officers from around the world converge on Washington, D.C. to participate in events that honor law enforcement officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. And whereas the names of these dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., where members of law enforcement, survivors, and citizens can gather to honor those who gave their lives in the line of duty. Now, therefore, the governing body of the Township of Howell does hereby proclaim the week of May 11th through 17th, 2025 as National Police Week, and May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day in the Township of Howell, and encourages all citizens to recognize the dedicated service of the law enforcement officers of the Howell Township and across the nation.
Good. All right, acceptance of minutes from previous meeting. May I have a motion for acceptance of minutes of April 1st, 2025?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of April 1st, 2025.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Abstain?
Thank you. Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gager?
Yes.
Mayor Leggio?
Yes.
Thank you.
Acceptance of minutes from April 15th, 2025?
I'll make a motion?
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Abstain?
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gager?
Yes.
Mayor Leggio?
Abstain.
Thank you.
All right, on to reports of township officials.
Okay, I have a few. Just a reminder that Teen Expedition starts this summer. It will be Monday, June 30th through Friday, August 8th, 6 weeks. And the sign-up form is available on the township's website. It's always a great time and highly recommended. Saturday, June 7th, the Hooked on Fishing, Not on Drugs and Baxter's Fishing Derby will be held at Echo Lake. Registration, learning stations, and fishing derby contest will be from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. And then trophies, awards, and prizes will happen after that. 2nd of July, we will be having the Independence Day celebration, 5 to 9:30 at Soldier Memorial Park. Fireworks will be at dusk. If you were there last year, you remember it was great. So there's food vendors, beer and wine, totally free event. And one of the favorites from last summer, Super Trans Am, will be playing the Howell Concert Series. Again, as I said, on July 2nd, Super Trans Am. Friday, July 16th, 5 to 7 at Soldier Memorial, Austin City Nights. Friday, July 30th, 5 to 7, White Wedding, Soldier Memorial Park. August 13th, Garden State Radio, 5 to 7, again at Soldier Memorial Park, and we will be having fireworks every night afterwards. Movies in the park, July 10th, 17th, August 7th, and August 21st. Featuring Ghostbusters, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Sonic 3, and Minecraft. Activities will begin at 6:30, movies begin at dusk. Again, that is at the Howell Library Hill, 318 Old Tavern Road. And that is another one of our community relations, Stephen Fetcher's great nights. Howell Night at the Blue Claws will be Thursday, July 24th, 2025. Starts at 7:05. Tickets can be purchased through the link on the township website. Always fun, and we may even see one of our council people throw a baseball. So, finally, just a quick update. Some people may have been seeing signs going up around town. There's one outside here, Town Hall. There's one going on Route 9. And one up on Route 33. So that was part of a plan that we had discussed going back about a year now. We've been working with the sign company to replace the sign in front of Town Hall and to install 2 other landmark signs at no cost to the township. And in fact, it generates revenue for us. So between the 3 signs, it brings in about $100,000 a year. They're in the process of installing them. The old sign from Town Hall is currently in storage at DPW, but will be installed courtesy of Premier Media in front of the Howell Township Police Department. So that sign will be back up and running very soon as well. So that is my update.
Nothing for me.
Nothing, Matt?
Nothing, Mayor.
Can Mrs. Riddle and Captain Rizzo please come up? Update on smoking in public places?
Good evening. As you said, I'm here with Captain Rizzo of Howell Township Police, and we just wanted to provide a public announcement and update on the up-and-coming smoking in public places enforcement. As many of you have already learned through press releases and social media announcements, Howell Township will begin enforcing another component of its 2023 ordinance, smoking in public places, electronic smoking device use and sales, and tobacco sales. And this is a brief overview of the ordinance and a timeline as another measure of public education and announcement that smoking in public places is prohibited, which is especially timely as warmer weather arrives and time outdoors increases. So I'm just going to quickly just go over what that means, and then Captain Rizzo will add on about the enforcement that will be taking place. So Howell's ordinance aligns with the New Jersey Smoke-Free Air Act. Smoking is prohibited in parks, recreational and athletic facilities, public places, and other township-owned properties. This includes electronic smoking devices, combustible smoking materials such as cigarettes and cigars, and marijuana. Smoking in public places is prohibited regardless of the substance being smoked or vaped. They don't have to check that. It's just smoking in public places. Howell is not alone. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, as of 2023, over 313 of New Jersey's 564 municipalities have banned smoking in parks and recreational areas. The reason for enforcement is to keep public places healthy, safe, and enjoyable for everyone, including youth and people with health issues that may be affected by secondhand smoke. And this law is not new, despite what some people think. Its roots go back to 2006. In 2006, the New Jersey Smoke-Free Air Act took effect, banning smoking in workplaces and indoor public places. In 2010, under a New Jersey Smoke-Free Air Act amendment, electronic smoking devices became included in the smoking ban. In 2019, the New Jersey Smoke-Free Air Act smoking ban was updated to include beaches and parks, so it's a state law. In 2021, Howell Township hung Breathe Easy Smoke-Free Air Act no smoking signs in parks, recreational areas, and other municipally owned public property areas. In 2023, so it's exactly 2 years ago, Howell Township smoking in public places, electronic smoking device use and sales, and tobacco sales ordinance took effect with a unanimous vote by Town Council. Howell's Breathe Easy signs were then updated to include a sticker with a QR code to the ordinance and the fines and violations for easy public reference. So that was 2 years ago. Howell's fines align with the New Jersey Smoke-Free Air Act fines. $250 for the first offense, $500 for the second offense, and $1,000 for the third and subsequent offenses. And the first fine can be waived at the Howell Township Municipal Court Judge's discretion if the person proves completion of Robert Wood Johnson Barnabas Health's 8-week nicotine and tobacco recovery program or another similar accredited cessation program. And in New Jersey, home rules, which means municipalities can choose to be stricter than the state with enforcement of laws. So that's just an overview and a timeline for people who were thinking that it was a cash grab or that we were just making this up and pulling it out of thin air. Our ordinance did pass 2 years ago, and it has been state law since 2019. So I'm going to hand it over to Captain.
Good evening, everybody. To go off and to add on to what Krista was talking about, we also felt it was responsible after we met to give the public ample and adequate notice that not only have these things been legislated and issued, that here are the warnings, here are what we are doing. So plenty of heads up to be compliant in this. And it's not about enforcement, it's about quality of life. So that was the whole purpose. This is in conjunction with what we've already done to enforce underage sales of and flavored vape products, underage sales of tobacco products throughout the town. It was very successful the last time that we came up. So this is all, geared toward the same result in quality of life for the residents, not to infringe upon anybody's rights and their habits, and then the program with the court, the reason why we also spoke about that, to have means to have a fine be waived, it's not to be lenient, it's to also to be very conducive for people to kick the habit, just like we did for other, subjects that are suffering from addiction in various ways. So that is, we're all trying to be on the same page and in unison with what the goals are. But it's going to be geared toward the quality of life for the residents. So the officers will be issued guidance as to what these violations look like, how to take the appropriate action while being respectful and courteous, of course. That's all we have.
Thank you. All right. On to hearing of citizens and public comment on consent agenda items and general matters.
Each person shall first give their name and address to the clerk. The council should be addressed as a collective body and not as individual members. Each person shall have one turn to address the council, and comments shall not exceed a total of 5 minutes. Speakers shall be notified when their time has run, and no time extension shall be permitted. If you're here to speak on a specific ordinance, I ask that you speak on that individual ordinance and not on the consent comments. If you'd like to come up.
And so just to key off that, if people are here to speak about a specific ordinance, there's going to be a hearing on each ordinance to be adopted tonight. So in the interest of having everybody's thoughts heard, it would probably be best to wait until that ordinance is called so that we can hear all the comments at once.
Well, there's two names here, Moishi Pinter. Is he still here? And Danny Adelman?
That's me.
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that. I had a question for the captain. Good evening, Council. Donnie Edelman. I'm a Jackson resident right now. I am going to be moving to Howell sometime in the near future. I am here for two reasons. Number one, a couple years ago, I was involved in a pedestrian fatality. And for the past couple of years, I've been petitioning the state DOT, because they're the ones that oversee Route 9 and the controls of Route 9, in regards to putting up a fence, separating the barrier so that people can't cross illegally. They've run circles, and they don't want to do it. I spoke to Manalapan, who has a fence along there, because they've had, a similar amount of traffic fatalities, and they went ahead and they paid for it themselves. So I may suggest, if not request, that Howell look into putting up fencing along Route 9 so that pedestrians, whether they're sober or intoxicated, will not cross illegally in the middle of the night and get hit by cars. That's number one. Number two, I've engaged in some constantly protected activities throughout the township and had a few run-ins with Howell Police Department. Some went good, some went bad. And I was kind of hoping that the chief was going to be here tonight, because I've sent him certified letters. He's ignored me. I did the normal IA thing. I hate to say it, and it sounds spiteful, but they're just covering for each other. I asked the internal affairs officer if I did exactly what that police officer did to me to you right now, which you say is okay and perfectly legal and not in any way irregular. He said he'd arrest me. So I guess at this point, I don't know if it's possible, but can maybe the chief be ordered to communicate with me? I tried going to Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office once they heard that this was about another police agency investigating internal affairs. They decided they were not even going to take it seriously. They didn't even write anything down. So if that could be done, great. If not, then there's only one alternative. I'd rather not go that route. All right, but there's some really bad goings on. And again, your police department is more afraid of a camera than they are of somebody walking around with a machine gun. I haven't tried walking around with a machine gun. Believe me, I have no intentions of doing anything like that. But for the way they've responded, I am telling you, those officers are more afraid of cameras than they are of weapons, than they are of drugs, than they are of, if somebody would throw an open bag of fentanyl in the middle of the police station, pull a camera out, and that's how you make a police officer scared. All right, it needs to be addressed, and I would like some help with the townships. This way, I don't have to sue the township, and the officers will get some sort of retraining, I guess might be the thing that I'm going after. It's not punishment, it's not anything. I'd like to have it not happen again, but when the police chief doesn't even want to respond, I'm left with very few options. Like I said, the prosecutor's office, once they hear I'm trying to have a internal affairs investigation followed upon, they don't want to do anything about it. Have a great night, everyone.
Anyone else? All right, one more. Mrs. Velez?
Betty Velez Gimbel, Victory Road. My presence today is merely as a reminder to the public and council of the ongoing Victory Road warehouse litigation. I am well aware of the many topics and needs within the township, so we don't want to get lost in the shuffle. I hope Mr. Clark has been updating you regarding Victory Road, and if not, I hope you're asking questions. Most recently, the plaintiff requested a case management conference to be scheduled by the court. I'm sure you have been made aware that the plaintiff wishes to move this along, so I am praying that our township attorney is well prepared. I'd also like to address some comments made on the April 1st council meeting by Councilman Fred Gazier about me. I would like to quote Councilman Gazier, because I'm a bit confused here. I understand everyone has the right to say what they want to say on the First Amendment, but that right does not preclude you from the responsibility of what you've said, end quote. My response to this, Councilman, is that I take full responsibility for what I have said and always do. Councilman Gazier also stated, understand, it's not the zoning or planning board because those are quasi-judicial boards, and when you come before those, you have to tell the truth. So anyone can come up here and say whatever they please, and that's it. I'm not sure, that was end quote. I'm not sure what is more upsetting, the fact that his statements allude that I'm being untruthful, or the lack of empathy for the residents of Victory Road in that you focused on what was said about you and Councilwoman Evelyn O'Donnell, or the inability to assume responsibility for your actions. You went on to say that you intended to set the record straight. You stated that you were asked to meet with the people like you always do at the time and had no idea the residents you were meeting with were all from Victory Road. I would like to provide information which proves otherwise and definitely shows that you do more than dismiss social media. The folder that I provided you is of social media social platforms in which we are Howell, New Jersey. On March 31st, 23, there was a thread regarding Howell's warehouse, Victory Road, 200,000 square feet in space. Fred Gazier responds and engages in this thread. If you look to page 4, Councilman Gazier says to one of the residents on Victory Road, I sent you a private message. On page 5, again he states, I suggest you take the advice that I sent you in the private message and we sit down to have a nice chat together. That's an invitation.
Excuse me, ma'am. I just want to say at the outset, one of the main rules of addressing the body is to address the body as a whole. It seems the thrust of your comments have been to single out a single member. So I'd just like to have that said right now. One of the main rules of this.
I understand the rule. If you had seen the April, he called me out by my name. and alluded that I was being untruthful. So I am addressing his comments.
I understand where you're coming from, but one of the primary rules here...
I'll continue without his name. Is that okay?
If you address the council as a
Okay.
body. Thank you.
As the body. All right, I'll continue. So a message again was sent that private to chat. On page 6, Victory Road residents, resident that was discussed with the private message says, let's keep our private message private, okay? Which acknowledges that the message was sent. On page 7, a second Victory Road resident chimed in, and on page 8, Councilman Gazier jumps in and also invites for a meeting. The meeting took place on April 3rd. I do have a text thread which proves this. So the meeting with residents was a rookie mistake, and it was puzzling is that Councilwoman O'Donnell didn't advise you of such since she had been on the planning board a number of years. If you noticed that the Victory Road residents were there, why didn't you excuse yourself? I think it's important to know that Victory Road residents, again, have been through a lot. And I've given you information, even the Republican chair discusses your reckless behavior regarding Victory Road and not being able to be part of the vote. So I've given you all of this evidence.
Thank you, Betty. Your time has ended.
That you did, in fact, know who you were meeting with.
Thank you, Betty. Thank you.
Prior to the meeting.
Anyone else from the public?
Good evening, Mark Parisi, Two Castle Court. I had a question about the new signs that are being put up that are going to generate $100,000 of revenue a year for the town. I mean, it looks nice, but these are questions I suppose that could be answered after I'm done asking my questions. Who technically owns those signs? Is it the township? Is it the company that installed the signs? And I guess the main crux of my question is, who gets to decide what gets put up on the sign for advertising? If the town is going to be selling the space as advertising space, who regulates who gets to advertise on that sign? Can like any third-party outside entity come in and say, we want to pay, $5,000 for a week to advertise our business? Could a political candidate get up there and say, I want to spend $5,000 for a week to advertise my candidacy on the sign? Could an organization connected with the Middle Eastern conflict come in here and say that we want to buy advertising space on this sign? If you could just share with the public if there's any parameters or regulations regarding advertising on that sign. Thank you.
Anyone else? I'm seeing none, so may I have a motion to close public comment?
I'll make a motion. A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Response to public comments?
So fencing along Route 9, we are actually looking at it right now, costing it out, trying to figure out what we can do with the state with regard to it. So that is a work in process. In terms of ordering the chief to communicate with Mr. Edelman, I'm not even sure what's going on. So what I'll do first is reach out to the chief and find out what's happening, and then advise counsel with regard to that. Ms. Velez, we'll take it under advisement, and we'll have Mr. Glynn reach out to Mr. Gazier, I guess. And then Mr. Parisi, who owns the signs? The sign company owns them, and they control the content, subject to certain restrictions and parameters that they set. So we can reach out to them and get more information, and if you want it, just shoot me an email, and I will provide it to you.
Any elected officials like to make any comments? Two? No? I only have one comment to Mr. Adam, and I don't know who you are, sir, and I am completely offended that you came up here and you disparaged our police department, and Mr. Starro was not here to defend himself, and your comments about the cameras and all the other stuff is a little concerning to me. And there's three sides to every story. There's your side, the police side, and the truth. So you coming up here and running off at your mouth for those few minutes, I do not appreciate you going after our police department, period.
Point of order, under Robert's rules, I have a chance to respond.
Not from the floor.
Sir,
Everything's available on video.
Point of order is not to be called by a member of the audience. It's not part, you don't have the privilege.
When there's a direct response, yes, there is. Read Robert's rules.
Shall we continue?
All right, on to consent agenda items. We will vote on consent agenda items. Does anyone wish to vote on any of these items separately? No? So we have resolution.
I would make a motion for Resolution 25143 to and including R25151.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gager?
Yes.
Mayor Leggio?
Yes.
Thank you. The consent resolutions pass.
Okay, we are on to unfinished business, public hearing, adoption of ordinances. Diane?
Ordinance 25-15, an ordinance of the Township of Howell supplementing Chapter 188, Article 10 zones, creating subsection 73.1, establishing the residential 25 R25 zone.
So, Mr. Mayor, before we open it up for the hearing, we're going to have Mr. Howard and our planner, Ms. Beam, go through what's going on with regard to this particular zone.
Carrie?
So what this first ordinance is doing, it's taking a small chunk of property, about 300 lots in the Ramtown section of Howell, which is the southeastern section of Howell, creating a new zone. So this ordinance creates a new zone, which is the R-25, R25 zone. With that, has its own bulk and dimensional standards. That is the text of the ordinance. Just as a quick summary, the ordinance lists the permitted uses, accessory uses, which are pretty standard in terms of what you would expect in a residential zone. So permitted uses, single-family residential, townhomes, agricultural, horticulture, community residences for developmentally disabled, and multi-generational family accommodations, which are better known as mother-daughter spaces. Accessory uses are accessory to the principal use. So your patios, your decks, things like that. I'm not going to go through the whole list. Does create, like I said, bulk and dimensional standards. 8,000 square foot minimum lot size, 50-foot frontage, 25-foot front yard setback, 6-foot side yard, 25-foot rear yard. I know this is a lot of numbers. Not inconsistent with some of our other residential zones in town. So that is what the ordinance is doing. This one is creating the zone. It's not rezoning any property. This is creating that section of the ordinance. The next ordinance is to the specific change for block and lots to go into this zone.
So that means that first the town has to create the zone, and then after the zone is created, there's going to be another ordinance that will rezone certain properties from R3 to this R25. So this is just the establishment of the actual zone itself, having nothing to do with individual properties.
It's closed.
You want to explain more, or you want me to open up to public? All right.
Yeah, we can, if people have questions on that. So the bottom line is, if you see the green boundaries, that's going to be the R25 zone, and this ordinance creates that zone. The next ordinance is what says these properties belong in that zone. So two-step process, it's just what we have to do by law.
So I'm going to open up to the public. Sir, can you please come forward? Anyone that wants to make a comment on this? We want to do each one individually.
Ordinance 25-15 is what we're opening public comment on right now.
Yeah, to the gentleman's questions, there's two ordinances that apply to this zoning. You can come up and speak on either of them, and we'll go through it.
Hi, good evening. William O'Boyle, 54 Lorelei Drive. I'm assuming the property we're talking about is the old nursery?
It's more than just the old nursery.
What
No,
else is-
it's everything that was within that green sort of boundaried area.
Same property area.
So everything in that area, which is up here right now.
Okay, I guess the first question I have is, when did it go from, obviously, commercial property to residential? We didn't know anything about that. I always thought it was a commercial property. And now you're talking about putting residential homes in, and we're already up to an ordinance to bring it to R3, or R25, and then R3. As a homeowner, that abuts that nursery, has anybody done any land surveys? Because Lorelei Drive is sinking. We have sinkholes in our driveways, we have sinkholes in the streets. I just took a picture the other day at the corner of Lorelei and Albatross. The town was over there filling in a grate. If you look at the road, it's completely unlevel. Number two is, we're looking at a nursery that, what kind of chemicals were they using to treat their flowers, do this? Has any soil surveys been done? Water surveys? What is the change, if you look at the grade, from that nursery through our properties, the entire development slopes down into a retention basin made for water? Has anybody done a survey of when you start digging up that property, what's going to happen to everybody's house? These are things that, before we jump to R3 and R25, why aren't we jumping into what can happen to the people's homes? We get a letter in the mail and a certified letter to the same thing the next day, and we're being told, again, we're going to go to R3 to follow the law, we're going to do this. What are you doing to undermine people's properties? I've taken pictures, I've walked the neighborhood, I've talked to the neighbors, people's driveways are sinking. My neighbor had a sinkhole that had 8 feet deep. The town came and filled it. Guess what? It's sinking again. There's something going on. It started, I think, more when you did some work on Newton's Corner Road, but now you're talking about changing, obviously, the entire grade that everything is going to be there. Again, when were all of these surveys done before we shove R3 and R25 to the public? Who is the contractor that's supposed to be coming in to do this? Do we have an idea of what the residents could be looking for? What are we looking at? Is it townhomes? I heard you say mother-daughter homes? 8,000 square feet? What are we talking about? Who's the builder?
We'll answer all your questions at the end.
I'm sorry?
We'll answer
Oh,
all
okay,
your questions
Okay,
at
I'm
the
sorry.
end.
All right, well, yeah, I'm looking, who's the builder? The contractor that's being hired? What other things has he done in Howell? Is 8,000 the minimum lot size, or is that what we're going to say standard when we make all the property? I heard mother-daughter. Isn't that to me multifamily housing? Okay. And I gather this mentioned something about property line. So from my property to wherever is going to be built on there, is that going to be discussed in the next assessment? Are you guys trying to ratify how far you can build from our property lines? What's going to happen to the wooded area that does go around there, or the fencing that's all there? Again, there's a lot of questions that I just had, and talking with a lot of my neighbors in that area. I guess the main concern is the sinkholes for Lorelei Drive, if nobody's been out there, and what's going to happen structurally to all of our homes. Other than that, I'll wait for your questions and answers. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name is Judy Liggess. I live at 570 Newton's Corner Road. My question is, has any traffic surveys been done? The traffic on Newton's Corner Road in the last 26 years that I've lived there has grown exponentially. It's dangerous. And to add housing like this will add to that. you can't really widen the road or do anything to improve the traffic. And also, people live in this area, this type of area where I live, to get away from the city-like living and all the houses and townhouses. It's just going to be so congested, which is not what we're looking for. We're not looking for that lifestyle. And by continuing to take properties like this and crush all these houses in and make more traffic, because you have this property, then you're going to have the Ramtown Florist, which is another property that's probably going to be developed, and the whole area is just going to be more and more congested, and the traffic is just going to get worse. So has anyone taken that into account? Any real traffic studies? Not a traffic study on a Sunday morning, like I saw over by when they wanted to build the truck depot over by Randolph Road. They were doing it on a Sunday morning. No traffic then. We need to have traffic studies done during the busiest time. And the traffic will grow exponentially if we do something like this and take all that property. And it's just not fair to the people who want a quiet lifestyle and not a congested area right down the road. Thank you.
Hi, Jamie Zimmerman, 6 Yosemite Road. So that zone is now zoned at R3, and it's going to go to a new zone of R25. I was wondering if maybe we could have a description of the big differences in regards to the two different zones. Higher density, I guess. I'm not really quite sure, and I think that the people probably would want to know what the real big differences are. And also, what is the reasons for going from R3 to R25? Is there a reason that that it's on the table in regards to changing this zone? And also, if it is a higher density, like the other woman had said, my concern is the congestion in that area, the traffic congestion. When you get into higher density areas, you obviously have a lot more cars. And right by the Wawa there, with even being in the morning, the congestion for the buses, there's a real issue. So is there a thought in regards to maybe putting a traffic light there? I mean, we have to look into regards to the congestion of that area. Also, the infrastructure. When you have higher density areas, creates more, sewage. So if you could explain that in regards to if it's been talked to the sewage company in regards to increased sewage. And like I said, and the increased congestion. So thank you.
Stephen Moyer, 2638 Lakewood Allenwood Road. My question, I will answer a couple of yours. The R3 currently is 15,000 square feet. We're going down to the papers that was sent out was 8,000 square feet, which is actually different than what's on that screen. Can we blow that screen up?
Yeah, I made a
It is 8,000 square feet.
I made a mistake on the map at
You
7,500.
are absolutely correct.
8,000.
Okay, 'cause
8,000
Correct.
the way we look at it, why do we need to change it? We're only changing it to have a certain area get more houses. Okay. It was explained as far as keeping everything similar. Okay, why do we need to change it? The gasp that just came is kind of curious. Right there, the little top area, top left. So you're saying my property, which is 45,000 square feet, the three other ones are 1 acre each? at 45,000 square feet. So the way that you're doing this now, and I see one of my neighbors here, we could sell those 4 pieces of land and build 16 houses, 15 houses. Okay? That's better for me for my property value. Why are we doing it? Why? There's no reason. Okay, that's what I don't understand. And then also, 1980, I'm actually zoned AR1. I don't know where you got R3. So right here, Howell Township Planning Board from 1980, dated October 7th, 1980. If you want, I could give it to you to make a copy. Okay, but when was that changed? What's nice about it, somebody stated that they received a certified letter. Okay, where's my signature on a letter? Certified means you sign it, am I right? No? Certified is just dropped in the mail?
It means they have to send it certified. They don't require you to sign it. They have to send it certified to you. They don't require you to sign for it. That's the law. Sorry.
Okay. How do you certify that it was received then? Dropped in the mail? Certified mail has always been delivered, signed, the green sheet, yellow sheet, whatever color it is, pink sheet, gets then sent back that it was certified. Okay, it's just something that I don't understand because I've received other certified mail in the past. So we're going from 15,000 square feet down to 8,000 for no other reason than to open up a piece of land for development. Leave it at the 15,000 square feet. It only affects that property and mine and my 3 neighbors. Why? That's the question. We don't do something like this if there's a reason. There's a reason for houses. Somebody asks for the name of the builder. Okay, how many houses are proposed? Can we at least get that so there's some sort of closure to be able to understand? But if you want, from 1980, AR1 is what I'm zoned in. So that one there just null and voids this because currently you're saying I'm R3, 1980, which I did speak to, I'm sorry, let me get that. I did speak to Mr. Howard, who stated if you do have anything that predates stayed in the zoning,
Okay.
to please make it aware. I'm sorry for using his name. I speaking to the board, but I do have it here that I could share with you. So that one, we're moving forward with something for no other reason except to build more houses. And you're talking to someone who was here before Parkside, before Crossroads. I was before everything. I've been there since 1990. So I've been there before. I haven't never been up here standing to argue for Parkside across the street from me, from the property behind my house that used to be low income, that should have been low income that way. That was originally zoned for. So we've changed things over the year. This one's just being changed just for more houses being built there. My time's up.
Evening. My name's Jim Hasner. I live at 48 Lorelei Drive. I lived there for 27 years. And in that 27 years, it was woods right behind me. And understand, the trees got knocked down, and ever since the trees got knocked down, my backyard and Lorelei Drive from Virginia Drive out to Partridge Lane is sinking. You go around my house, my foundation's got cracks in it. Over the side of my house, it's starting to collapse the ground. So if you put more houses, where's that water going? Where's it going to drain? Do we know? You just can't build something and just say, we're going to build it. What about protecting us? And not the other people that are building making money? 27 years. That's all I got to say. And one more question, sorry. And how many percentage could be low income? Like what type of housing it's going to be? We'd like to know that also. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Robert Spleeter at 2550 Alwood Lakewood Road. I'm actually in Howell Township. That green line borders my house, so I need to know exactly how much value I'm going to lose since my property taxes are like through the roof to begin with. And you guys don't pay any taxes around here. Like, you pay nothing on a dime compared to what I'm paying. So am I going to have houses sitting right on top of my house now? On top of that, you know, Parkside went in, nobody ever looks at it. You can have drainage ditches all you want. But when it rained today, I got the East River coming down the front of my driveway. So I agree with these guys. I don't know where they're getting the sinkholes from, but to be quite honest with you, you got a water problem, a major one on that side. So you want to build houses, build them all the way over by Route 9. Thanks.
Good evening, council members. Gerald Skank, 115 Newton's Corner Road. And my residence is on the bottom end of that between Memorial and Constitution. And I'm not sure, I'm not clear on how the upper half, the other gentleman was talking about, was included in that conversion to R25. And I'm still at R3. So we have half-acre properties on those two lots. One lot 150, 135, and 136, and just not clear on how, you know, the how that was not included in that conversion. So I know you can't answer me in here now, but if someone can get back to me, that'd be great. Thank you very much.
Anyone else from the public? I'm seeing none, so we'll make a motion to close. Public comment?
Motion to close public on that particular ordinance?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Jen, I think there's some misconception
I agree, yes.
of what this is all about. And
So this is just a zoning ordinance. There's no development application. And the majority of the area that we are proposing to rezone are existing 8,000 square foot lots. So what this does is takes all those properties and makes them conforming versus the 15,000 square foot requirement, which they do not conform to. There is no application, there is no proposal, there is no developer, there is no contractor, there is no nothing. It is a zoning ordinance only to take this entire area and rezone it for what the properties have been developed at. There's literally no application for development, there's no homes proposed, there's no contractor, developer, nobody. I'm not understanding what the question is about sewer. The whole area is sewered, so I'm not really understanding that question. And the sinkhole situation will not be impacted one iota by rezoning the area. So anything that happens in this area, the 99% of it is already developed, we'll have to go to the planning board. We'll have traffic studies, we'll have drainage studies. And quite frankly, I get that there's concerns about the drainage currently. Anything that comes to the planning board or the zoning board moving forward will have to adhere to the new stormwater regs, which will be nothing but a benefit if that happens. So I am not 100% sure, and there is absolutely no proposal for affordable housing in this area. That is not what this is. It's a strict zoning. That's it. And you're basically taking the area that has 8,000 square foot lots currently that are undersized for the zone, 15,000 square foot zone, and are making them conforming. So that is what this is doing.
So most of Ramtown was built probably some sections as far back as the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. There was always a cluster option in the R3 zoning through about mid-1980s. And the cluster option allowed you to go down to 8,000 square foot lot sizes. So almost every lot in Ramtown, very few are 15,000 square foot. At some point later, the zoning was changed to R3. But that leaves every lot in Ramtown at 8,000 square feet. There are some ordinances that try and correct some of the nonconformities that exist there between setbacks that on an 8,000 square foot lot are different than a 15,000 square foot lot. So, for example, if somebody's house burns down, I have to do quite a bit of analysis right now to try and avoid a family that maybe just lost their house from having to go and get variances to build back on the lot that was created by the township 50 years ago, had a house on it for 50 years, a calamity happened, and now I have to tell you to go get a variance because there's this odd kink in the zoning. So these standards that are being proposed are more in line with almost every house that's built in Ramtown, not 100% inclusive. As Jen had said, there's no builder. There's no studies on chemicals. There's no drainage studies.
No
because
shouting,
nothing
please.
is being proposed.
No shouting.
Because nothing is being proposed. So there is this is zoning 300 plus different parcels. There's not one specific parcel we're talking about. Changes to congestion, whether a development has enough sewage capacity to tie into the sewer, all reviewed by the planning board if and when a development application is ever filed and reviewed. Regarding the gentleman on Lakewood Allenwood Road who has a 1980 ordinance for the ARE1 zone, we have probably from 1980 through current 12 different zoning maps. Zoning changes regularly. Because you have a 1980 ordinance that said you are ARE1, the zoning has changed since then. Right now, that area, based on our current zoning map, is R3. When we spoke at the window, you had questions about a commercial use, which could be grandfathered if there was an approval for a commercial use, which you were pretty sure you had, and I haven't seen any documentation to that. So we're still not sure about that. In terms of, again, drainage issues in the area, any development that comes forward is going to be reviewed under today's standards, which are very different than anything's ever been reviewed, especially back into the 80s. The state has gotten extremely strict on stormwater management, and anything that were to come in would have to meet those strict standards. I think we addressed it.
That's it. Anything else?
One last item about the certified mail, because if there's any questions about notice. Certified mail means we certify that we sent it. We do not have to, nor is it reasonable for us to confirm receipt of every piece of mail. So we go to the post office when we mail it, it gets stamped that it was sent, and legally, our obligation is done.
Has that cleared up questions?
There's no purchase of any property. This is simply a rezoning of...
No shouting, please.
This is simply... There is no... This is not a reaction to any property transfer. This is a rezoning of property based upon the fact, as Matt has stated, the majority of those lots in this proposal are 8,000 square feet. The zoning has changed since these lots were created. Any person that's in this area that wants to do anything will wind up before the zoning board because they're undersized. This will reconcile that. There's no builder, there's no proposed development, there's no nothing. It's a simple rezoning, that's it. Why can't you make the existing lots?
We're being recorded. Please stop shouting. Thank you.
So why can't you make the existing lots as being... Okay, So the public comment period of this ordinance is over. So I appreciate your concern, but yet we have a record that's being recorded. This is a meeting that needs to be done in an organized fashion. The public meeting portion of this ordinance is closed, and so now we're back to the board.
What do you want to do?
Let's go.
If anyone has further questions, there's the next ordinance where we adopt the zone, if you have further questions during that one, where it relates to specifically for your location.
Yes.
That's right after we adopt this one.
No. All right, so I'm going to make a motion to adopt ordinance 25-15.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Nadell.
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gager.
Yes.
Mayor Leggio.
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 25-16, an ordinance of the Township of Howell changing the zoning of certain properties within the Township of Howell from residential R3 to zoning designation residential 25R25.
So as I mentioned previously, the ordinance we just passed created the zone. This is placing properties within that zone. And based on the map in front of you, it's everything within the green area. If you received a mailer and you're not within the green area, that is because you are within 200 feet of that zone, and we are required to notice you, but only the properties within that green area are being rezoned.
Open this up to the public. Anyone like to come forward that didn't come up before? The gentleman in the back row, you had your hand up, sir?
Ordinance 25-16, public comment.
So I realized that you had said.
Your
that
name and
you're-
address, please.
Oh, Jamie Zimmerman, 6 Yosemite Road.
Thank you.
Sorry. Is there a reason why you can't cookie cutter it up if you're so concerned about bringing these lots into compliance by having the existing lots as being the R25, but the lots that have not been developed yet, which are big, huge lots that have been sold or are going to be sold, as being in the R3 so that you're still, maintaining your 15,000 square feet lots? There had to have been a reason why it was approved as being R3. There had to have been reason, because they didn't want to have the higher density. I realized that the existing homes were probably part of a zone that was previously done way back when, but then you rezoned it R3, which was the 15,000 square feet. So maybe rezoning the existing lots to conform with the with the size of the lots that you had indicated as being the R25, and then the lots that don't have any, or the areas that don't have any homes at all, to be zoned the R3 and keeping the 15,000 square foot lots. So, that's it.
Hi, Board. My name is Frank Attilio. I'm from 15 Albatross. And I just have a question. I've been here 6 years. I've moved in the summer of 2019, and not once has this been brought up prior to this year with the sale of the florist that was around the corner from my house. Question is, what is driving this decision to happen this year with that sale, obviously, which is concerning a lot of the residents that live in that area, trying to figure out exactly why we are changing from R3 to R25. Smaller lot sizes to conform at 8,000 square feet, when my house is at 10,500 square feet as far as a lot size, right? So I'm over the 8,000. I'm under the 15,000. And I guarantee you, if you look at a lot of the property sizes that are in the area, they are exactly the same, if not close to it, where they're under and they're over. So what is driving the change this year versus the last 6 years since I've been there? So obviously, there's twofold to this question. One, why is it being driven this year? And two, is it in
correlation with the sale of the Ramtown Florist to develop more homes in that particular zone, in that particular lot. Thank you.
Hi, William O'Boyle, 54 Lorelei Drive again. I did have a question. I noticed that the body unanimously pushed this through, even with concerns raised and everything. And as it said, allegedly there's no buyer, there's no intention. We're just doing this for the sake of doing it. I don't understand it. But I'd like to ask anybody on the board or the body, whatever you want to call it, what's the last 8,000 square foot home that's been built in Ramtown? Because everything I see is a monstrosity going up, beautiful mini mansions everywhere I look. Now, all of a sudden, as it was just brought up, the florist is sold, and now we need to go down to 8,000 square foot homes. I'd like to know a reason for it. As you said, what are we looking to do? What are we looking to bring in? Different traffic patterns. I was assured, we'll do the survey to make sure that the drainage is good, but I didn't hear you're going to take care of the properties behind it and to the left and to the right of it and in front of it. Our survey is going to be due about where that water is running. It is an issue. Two, I think it's unprofessional. I think the body was a little hostile in the responses. Remember who we are as in taxpayers. We are people here and we're concerned about our neighborhood. We moved here for a reason. And again, I would just like, before we just blanketly vote things across, maybe take a little bit more information of why are we doing this now? Again, show me the last 8,000 square foot home. I gather we're grandfathered in the guy that was R1. Well, we grandfathered him into R3. Why isn't everybody at 8,000 square foot or whatever just being grandfathered into what's currently on the books? Why are we going backwards? What are we building here? Row homes? Is that the eventuality of it? I heard mother-daughter, but then I heard in the same thing from the body, there is no plan for anything. So a lot of things seems to be misinformed here. The letter's a little vague about what we're talking about, and thankfully you explained the ordinances. But in one point I heard row homes, I heard this, I heard that, and then from somebody else from the body I heard we're not doing anything. Has the property been sold? Who's it been sold to? I'd like to know that. Thank you.
My name is John Guarini. I live at 88 Lorelei Drive. I used to be your mail carrier. I just want to say one thing and straighten everything out. A certified letter must be sent, and the return receipt, which is a yellow card, must be signed. I'm a carrier for 40 years. You're wrong, period.
Anyone else from the public? Any other comments from the professionals? Oh, I'm sorry.
I really would like to
I'm
say-
sorry, your name for the
Oh, I'm
record?
sorry, yes, Judith Liggess, 570 Newton's Corner Road, sorry. And again, based on what, I think his name was Frank, it's very concerning that all of you voted for this and didn't even take into consideration what we said tonight. This is our neighborhood. We don't want congestion. We don't want what's happening in other towns, people to be on top of one another, and above all, safety. I live right on Newton's Corner Road, and the traffic there and the accidents by Easy Street, which is 2 houses away from me, is exponential. It's ridiculous. It's like every other day there's an accident. The traffic is unbelievable. Are you taking that into consideration? Because you already voted, and we do know you have a builder. There's somebody already to rezone it.
Talking to me directly, I am a consultant for the town.
I understand, but you made the statement that there's no visit, there's no buyer, there's no builder. There must be something to have this rezoning done. There must be something. And why aren't we putting them on larger pieces of property if we're gonna, and why are we taking extra property? Why can't we leave something as open space? That is the beauty of why we live in the area we live in. But you obviously have your minds already set, and that's a shame that you didn't take the time to listen and to take into consideration what everyone here took the time out to say, and to come and make a representation of our neighborhood. We want to live in beauty, and that's a shame that you already voted on it, you already made up your mind, you didn't even bother. So sometimes that's why people don't show up, because to meetings like this, because we already know you made up your mind and you don't really have a concern for what we say. I hope you just do the right thing for that piece of property, because we don't want to live in a city in congestion. We don't. Thank you.
Matt and Jen, listening to everybody here today,
We still haven't closed the public hearing on the ordinance.
Is there anyone else from the public that would like to come forward?
You need,
Anyone else from the public to come
speak
forward,
loud, he's
sir?
asking you to speak louder.
Anyone else from the public like to come forward? If not, I'm going to make a motion to close public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Is there anything going on with the sale of property over there?
First of all, we're not involved in the sale of private property.
The people own that property.
Correct, correct.
Is there any pending applications for any of that land?
There's no application, and Matt, you would know more than me, but there's no pending application before us for any property in this section of town.
I'll be very clear on what the last application we received, and it went fully public during our affordable housing discussion, and there was two projects set forward on the Ramtown Florist site, which was a townhouse project and a single-family project. Neither were chosen, neither were selected in the plan. Not heard anything about it since.
So as that property is now that somebody owns, if somebody wanted to do something with it, they're going to have to go through the entire process of putting in an application, going through zoning or planning. There's going to be studies and all that. Right now, that's just property that we want to rezone, right? Period.
Exactly.
Now, excuse me, my question is, why is it better that we rezone it that way?
It's not, so this is not a zoning ordinance for that property. This is a zoning ordinance for this entire area that's in green.
Right.
Those lots, while some of them may be beyond 8,000 square feet, they don't comport to the 15,000 square foot requirement. And the
Okay.
cluster section in this area of town has been removed in what, the 80s, late 80s, early 90s. Any person in this section of town that wants to do anything on their property will then have to come to the zoning board for a variance because the lot's undersized.
Right.
This is an intention of reconciling the zoning to what is actually out there.
Okay.
That's what this is doing.
Okay, that makes sense to me, thank you.
There was a question about the multi-generational housing. That was something that was added into the ordinance in 2018. Every residential zone allows multi-generational housing. That's your mother-daughter space. There's conditions within the ordinance you have to meet. You have to enter into an agreement and a license with the township. What that does is it allows you to create a secondary apartment, for lack of a better word, but it's tied to family use only. It is not multifamily housing. The whole ordinance is designed to prevent multifamily housing. It's made so that you can have your in-law move in, which was a common request that was not covered under the ordinance back pre-18, and that was asked before. I neglected to answer that, so I apologize.
I also have a question for the professionals. It's come up that the way that the letter was sent, it did not receive a signature from the residents. So
I'm going to defer to you. I'm going to
from what a mail carrier, from what a mail carrier
The
says.
MLUL requires that we send it certified. It does not require that there's an actual signature. It is required to be sent certified mail, and that is for anything to do with you, the planning board, the zoning board. Any notice has to be sent certified. It doesn't require that there's an actual acceptance of the letter. That's what the law says.
So I will jump in on this too.
So then let me ask my question is, if the Postal Service is under the impression that it requires a signature, then we have...
That's incorrect. I'm sorry.
So I will answer this question as a lawyer. Now, I'll put my lawyer hat on. So the reason you send things by certified mail is to prove it was sent. It may surprise people in here to learn that not everybody signs for certified mail. And if it would be easy to thwart some kind of zoning application or service of a lawsuit by not signing for certified mail, people would do it. What the court requires is that it be sent by certified mail so there is proof of service of that letter. It doesn't have to show that it was actually accepted and signed for. And that's the point of it. And so the gentleman who was the mail carrier may be correct from his point of view, but I'm telling you from a legal point of view, service is complete when the letter is sent. And then we show it was delivered.
My concern only is that we are following the exact intent of the law.
We are. We sent it certified mail. That's what the law requires. Period. End of discussion.
Yeah, for our purposes, a refusal is as good as a signature because it shows that a delivery attempt was made on that address. That's fine.
Every single applicant that comes to your planning or zoning board does the same exact process. And like Mr. Clark said, if it took one person saying, I'm not going to sign for it, I wasn't noticed, now your application can't go forward. It's obviously not how it's going to work. You prove you sent it, you did your job in terms of notice, and that's it.
Somebody from the board said that there were no applications, and then somebody just stated that there was 2 of them, that they refused.
No. I'm going to clarify this. There's no applications pending before any municipal body. What I will say is that the town, as I'm sure all of you are well aware, is in the process of conforming to the affordable housing obligations. As such, we have, over the past, 6 to 8 months, accepted meetings from anyone who has requested, and there were requests that were not incorporated. There are no pending formal applications in the town, period.
Okay, so let's divide it up into 2 sections. First is what's pending before the boards, zoning board or planning board. There is nothing pending before the zoning board or the planning board pertaining to any parcel within this zone. What happened was previously, while we were working to comply with our COA obligation, we met with a number of developers. We met with developers who had an interest in developing parcels up in North Howell, Central Howell, South Howell, Ramtown, and they had proposals for it. We met with a developer who had 2 proposals for a parcel in this zone, and we rejected both of them. There is nothing currently pending before any board in this town, or before the governing body, or before anybody to do anything with anything in that zone other than this current rezoning.
And those were not applications, those were concepts. They were ultimately drawings of what could go there for consideration, and that's it.
Could you, could you,
And just talk.
sir, we're not going to, sir, public comment's closed. I just wanted to clarify something that I don't think, I don't think what everyone realizes is that we change zoning all the time. Matt, when was the last time we changed all those SED zones, those ARE6 zones?
We did dozens of ordinances.
John.
Dozens of ordinances.
It happens all the time. We do it to make everything compliant. We're going to be looking at other zones moving forward as well. It's nothing unique to this part of Ramtown that we're rezoning. We're making it compliant with the buildings that are there. We're doing it in other parts of town as well to make it compliant with the master plan.
So this is part of a longer-term plan. Anybody who has been listening to me when I was the township attorney and now manager, I've complained about the patchwork zoning that exists in this town that allows for odd uses to happen in places they have no business belonging. So we all agreed, like the Monmouth Commerce Center was going to be on 100 acres down at the end of Randolph. Totally inappropriate. So we rezoned it. and there's a different use now. So we're trying to overcome years of sort of mishmash and make consistency, and that is a goal of the MLUL, so that the zones do have commonality within themselves. And that's the point of this exercise. So, yeah, I wish there was something more sinister than that, but this is the part of a longer-term process throughout the town to try and make things so that the character of various areas are preserved, and uses that don't necessarily fit within a particular zone won't be there. They'll be in a more appropriate zone. So, you know, I'm talking about things like our redevelopment corridors on Route 9 and Route 33, where businesses and more intense traffic uses might be appropriate. This is clearly a residential area. I mean, I can see it with my own eyes, so we can, you know, safely say that that's probably better for the area. And that's something that we're looking at as a body right now, and it's one step of many that we need to take to kind of get a little bit more control over what's been happening over the years.
Councilwoman O'Donnell, according to the MLUL law, I did mail each letter regular and certified mail.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, public comment period is over. I know that it's been going on. The time for public comment was 15 minutes ago, and it's ended.
All right, sir, and Mrs. Pincus, I could assure you, okay, everyone here knows I'm new, okay? We've had multiple meetings with our township officials in regards to this change in the Ramtown section, okay? From my understanding, okay, I'm a pretty intelligent guy, everything that we're saying tonight, that are the answers, is all about conforming and consistency to what is around everything that's there. So that site is a 10-acre site, the Ramtown Florist. That's what everyone's concerned with, because there's been talk for months and months now, when it went up for sale, what it was going to be, what it could be, what uses were there, everything on the books, okay? And there's a lot of misinformation given out, okay, as far as what could go there, what can't go there, what can be built, okay? In doing this, R25, we feel that this is the best suited possibility for everything to match in that area. Now, this multiple use term or mother-daughter on an 8,000 square foot lot, that's not possible. Okay, it would just be single-family homes. Am I correct, Mr. Howard?
A mother-daughter can occupy a single-family home. Yeah.
Yes,
So a mother-daughter.
It's not a duplex, it's a mother-daughter in a single-family
This
home.
is not high density, this is
No.
not, you
A
know,
mother-daughter could be as simple as a finished basement for an apartment.
there's a lot of misinformation, folks,
By the way.
going around the Ramtown section about what could possibly go here, what will go there, okay? And whoever does buy it will have to follow all the rules through our planning board and through our zoning board, with stormwater, with setbacks, traffic, the buffer between you guys and Lorelei, and you guys at Partridge, and anything else that surrounds it. Like I said, we've discussed this multiple times. We just discussed it in executive before we came out. We knew you guys were coming to discuss it, and we want to answer your questions to the best that we could answer them, okay? I'm not one of the professionals. I'm just one of the elected officials, okay? I'm a planning board member, okay? My fifth year. I've sat on this planning board here, and I've seen a lot of projects come through. When I look at this, and I see what moving into an R25, that makes the most sense. So it's conforming and consistent to everything else that's around it, in my opinion. So I like to everyone just to take a deep breath and take in what our professionals said, and, you know, we didn't come here tonight just hearing about this. We have discussed this already multiple times before this hearing tonight to understand everything that's in it. And I'm sorry that some residents are having, you know, a tough time understanding what the rezone will accomplish. And you know, any of you could, during the week, or, you know, call our professionals and speak to them about it. But this is, here we are with this, and that's why we brought in Mrs. Beam tonight, our planning, you know, professional, and everyone else that has knowledge about this, to get us to where we are right now. So, like, I'm sorry that we, you know, some of your answers maybe not what you want to hear, but here it is, so. So, anyone else? We're done with public?
Yes.
We close public? So now I'm going to make a motion to adopt 25-16.
Second.
Councilman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilwoman Nadell.
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gajzer.
Yes.
Mayor Leggio.
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 25-17, capital ordinance providing for information technology improvements and appropriating $65,000, therefore authorized in and by the Township of Howell and the County of Monmouth, New Jersey.
Okay, open public comment for ordinance 25-17. I'm seeing none.
Motion to close?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now make a motion to adopt.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 25-17.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Nadell.
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gajzer.
Yes.
Mayor Leggio.
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 025-18, an ordinance of the Township of Howell, supplementing Chapter 265, Snow and Ice, creating Article 3, Private Salt Storage, consisting of subsections 265-16, 265-17, 265-18, 265-19, 265-20, and 265-21.
Open this up to the public. I'm seeing none. Motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt 25-18.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 25-18.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Nadell.
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gajzer.
Yes.
Mayor Leggio.
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is adopted. Ordinance 0-25-19, an ordinance authorizing traffic enforcement upon real property located at 783 Highway 9 in accordance with the request of the property owner.
Motion to open to public?
Anyone from the public? I'm seeing none. Motion to close public.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adopt 25-19.
Motion to adopt 25-19.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Nadell.
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gajzer.
Yes.
Mayor Leggio.
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is adopted. One moment. Ordinance 25-20, an ordinance of the Township of Howell, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, amending and supplementing the Township Code so as to amend Chapter 188 entitled Land Use.
I'd like to open this up to the public. Anyone from the public comment on this? No? I will close this.
Motion to close public?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion to adopt 25-20.
Motion to adopt ordinance 25-20.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Nadell.
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gajzer.
Yes.
Mayor Leggio.
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is adopted. Introduction of ordinances 025-21, an ordinance amending Chapter 7-14 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Howell to waive public parking lot permit fees for disabled veterans and Purple Heart recipients.
I'll make a motion to introduce ordinance 2521.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gager?
Yes.
Mayor Leggio?
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is properly introduced.
Now we are on to our 2025 municipal budget.
Okay, so, all right, why don't we close the door so that way we'll get some quiet in here.
Is Lou here?
Yeah, Lou's here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Lou.
Lou's coming. Oh, there he is.
All right, so we did the budget presentation last month. Statutorily, we can't adopt it until now, but between now and then, we've had to make an amendment to it, and I will turn it over to our Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Palazzo, to describe exactly sort of what happened and its impact on the budget, and I think everybody will be relatively happy about it. So, take it away, Lou.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. During the period in which the introduced budget was out for public inspection, the township received $275,000 for proceeds on the sale of a liquor license. It was decided by management to use those funds within the 2025 budget and reduce the amount to be raised by taxation. There was also the final state aid award that the township received from the state for its energy receipts tax was $94,352 more than we anticipated in the introduced budget. Therefore, that reduced the amount to be raised by taxation by $375,354 from what was introduced. That basically, when we introduced the budget, the average, the increase to the average homeowner was $110. That has now been reduced now down to $91. So we were able to use those proceeds in this year's budget, and that is what we are planning to read in as to the amendment this evening. We were on state review this year, and we have been approved to go forth and move forward as such.
All right, so we can move forward with the resolutions.
Excuse me, so Resolution R-25-152 needs to be read completely
Correct.
into the record.
So that's part of the process, so
right.
Lou will read it into the record.
First, we need to allow the public to have, if they have any comments on the budget as it was introduced.
Would anyone like to come up for public comment?
Good evening, Mark Parisi, 2 Castle Court. As evidenced by the fact that nearly 2/3 of the room walked out before we even got to the budget presentation, go ahead and raise taxes as much as you want, as far as I'm concerned. To me, it's outrageous. I go on social media, taxes, taxes, taxes. It's a budget hearing. You come here to talk about zoning, I get it, but you don't stick around to watch what's going to happen with your budget. It bothers me. It really does bother me. And I'm sure it bothers you guys too, because you know that this is one of the hot topics. So I was here for the budget introduction. I saw the presentation. I was fortunate to have served in an elected capacity where I learned a little bit about, municipal budgets and stuff like that with the Board of Education. When I saw the slide about budget challenges, and there was roughly a little bit more than $4 million in budget challenges, those 4 items on that particular slide were all things that were anticipated that there was going to be this budget challenge. You knew that there was that the ARP money was over. You knew that there was going to be a increase in salaries because the large chunk of the increase in salaries were from contractually negotiated. So you knew that was coming. There was some discretionary salary increases in there, but the majority of it was from contractual labor units. You also knew that there was some increases in the pension, the health benefits, stuff like that. So all of that was anticipated budget strains. In the 2024 budget, you also realized nearly $3 million more in unanticipated revenues. So knowing that you were going to have, $3 to $4 million in known holes that need to be filled, and that you had roughly $3 million in revenues that were unanticipated. That's a good thing. You got more money than you expected. How do we now then find ourselves in a situation where there's a multi-million-dollar budget hole that needs to be filled with roughly $2.5 million in taxation? So you got more money than you expected. You knew you were going to have a hole to fill. You would think that they would kind of offset, and yet we still spent in a manner that we have to raise taxes $2.5 million. And this is happening also in the same budget year that all of you are aware that the local Board of Ed is going out for $3 million and change. They showed some restraint in not going and utilizing the tax levy incentive program and going out for more money than they could. The regional has been decimated by S2, so it looks like they're having a hearing tonight. I don't know that they are going to, go out for the tax levy incentive program, but on all accounts, it looks like they are going to go out for roughly $19 million. That's going to be shared amongst 8 towns. They could probably justify it somewhat because of how much money they've lost in S2 cuts over the last 7-8 years. So when you total that all up, it's like about $9 million that's going to be seen by the taxpayers when they get their next tax bill. And as many of us know, the school taxes make up approximately 2/3 of people's tax bill. They generally don't really look at the line to line changes. Where does this year's tax increase come from? Is it from the municipalities? Is it from the schools? But you guys do a pretty good job of communicating to the public that the majority of your taxes go to schools. I think most people know that. I'm just if we could be explained to the public, what the earlier part of my comment was, how we got to where we're at. That we swung from 3 million positive, 3 million negative, and we're filling it with a tax increase. I appreciate it.
Anyone else from the public? I'm seeing none, so make a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So I'll defer to Lou on some of it, but I will say this, because Mr. Parisi was the vice president of the Freehold Regional Board of Ed at one point. I will stand our budget up against the school's budget any day of the week. I think it is a hallmark of responsibility, and it is very easy to pull this number out and this number out and ignore the hundreds of other numbers that make up the budget and say, why didn't you wash them out against each other? So there's a lot more to it than that. Obviously, we didn't have the ARP, we didn't have the state funds, we had some major budget challenges. We also had other things too that weren't in that major budget challenges category that do make up, pressure on it. So, we've been attempting to utilize a responsible amount of surplus. We keep in store another 2 months of operating, so we hold back $10 million every year. We're not going to deplete our surplus. God forbid there's an emergency, and we need that. So we used $7.7 million this past year, and we are using the liquor license money the extra money that Lou said to make up and to deliver an even lower tax burden. And again, I will stack it up against the schools any day. So,
May I add to that, Mr. Clark?
yes.
And Mr. Parisi should know this, and I encourage all of our residents, taxpayers, to attend school board meetings. Because, again, Mr. Clark is absolutely correct. We have maintained a fiscally responsible budget on the municipal level, and I don't think all residents remember when they get their tax bill, holy cow, 67% or more of this bill is coming from the school. Howell K-8 in particular, especially recently, they passed a 7% increase and didn't know what it was going to go to. Where was the public? I don't think the public attended their budget meeting. So we get blamed for a lot of the tax increase when in reality, it's the school. So I was a teacher 32 years. I just cannot insist enough upon the fact that our residents really need to get more involved with what's going on at with the school budget. And also, if we can mention an unforeseen was the tremendous increase in the state health benefits premium.
Sure. So, yeah, that's always out there. We've been getting raked over the coals by that. We have been exploring self-insuring. We're probably too small a risk pool to do that. We've been exploring getting out of the state health benefit system altogether. Our loss ratios aren't sufficient at this point. We're exploring other ways that we think are going to help us save on that next year, because I'm hearing after this year comes an even bigger number, anywhere from 16 to 30% increase in state health benefits. So those are the drivers. And if you take our budget numbers over the past 3 years, we've averaged a total tax increase of about $240 or $80 a year. So again, I like what we're doing compared to the numbers I'm hearing coming out of the boards of ed. And again, 67% of your tax dollar goes to them. And we do a lot, and we provide a lot of service for the money.
I'd like to say one thing. I'd like to commend our Board of Education for voting down the additional money that was offered to them by Trenton. They did that in a responsible way. When it comes to the district, I worked for the district for 20 years. I'm still working for them now. I know what happened when they took all the money away from the Freehold district. They took $27 million away just like that. And you know what that means to its district that's educating under the state average? The superintendent of schools and the board president called us personally to talk to us about it. And you know what they were told by us? Please just do a responsible budget and not have anything ridiculous in it. And their answer was, if we don't adopt our budget, we're looking at immediately cutting 40 positions. We have to put in 2 boilers. We have to replace 2 roofs. I don't know if there's a high school in this district that has usable tennis courts, and they haven't had them for 7, 8, 9 years. So I understand their predicament. You know, the state took money away from them, and then the state authorized them to be able to tax the public to get it back. That's not right. That's not right, so.
Well, as far as this budget goes, like I said, when we first had introduced it a few weeks ago, you know, being new here, you know, I came in to Mr. Clark's office with a smile on my face months ago, and I said to him, I said, hey, Joe, what's the chances we could deliver a flat rate, right? That would be great, or even a tax cut, okay? And he smiled back at me, and he said, listen, John, we're going to go over all this stuff, okay? Ian and I went back 3 years on budgets like he was saying, and we are running really, really lean in our departments, okay? Can a super, you know, mathematician come in here, or, you know, someone like Lou that's, you know, maybe look at it and say, oh, yeah, you know what, Lou, we could lose this, we could lose this. I don't know, okay? I feel after sitting down with these guys multiple times that we deliver something responsible here, And, like I said, no one wants a tax increase, none of us. I agree, okay? But last year was flat. This year is this nice low number. I know that people don't want to hear low, high, whatever, depending on what your house is assessed at. But, like I said to you, being new here and sitting down multiple times, having my questions answered by our professionals and learning the process, okay? There was a lot to take in, a lot to go over, and I understand why we are where we're at, and, this liquor sale, we could very easily move that money to next year and not added it to this year, and our increase would have been a little bit higher. But we were, I think that was well done by adding it to this year's, general, so we could knock the number down even further. So I'm with Mr. Clark and our professionals on as far as where we're at on the budget with this increase, roughly $91, $92, depending on what your house is assessed at. That's all. So I'd like to make a motion to approve.
No.
Oh,
We have to read the resolution in full.
Oh, yes.
Because
Mr.
of an
Plaza.
amendment.
You want
Okay.
to read this in full?
Okay, pull up a chair, everybody. Resolution 25152, resolution of the Township of Howell, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, amending the 2025 municipal budget for the Township of Howell pursuant to NJSA 48:4-9. Whereas the Council of the Township of Howell introduced its 2025 municipal budget on April 1st, 2025, and whereas a public hearing on said budget has been held as advertised on May 6th, 2025, and whereas NJSA 48:4-9 permits the Township Council to amend the budget after the public hearing, and whereas it is determined to be desirable or necessary to amend said budget. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Township of Howell, County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, not less than a majority of the full membership thereof affirmatively concurring that the following amendments to the 2025 municipal budget be made. Current fund anticipated revenues, general revenues. 3, miscellaneous revenues dash section A, local revenue, sheet A. Licenses, alcoholic beverages, sheet A, from $55,000 to $330,000. Interest on investments and deposits, sheet A, from $774,999.91 to $774,999.64. Total Section A local revenue dash includes total of Group 3 items from Sheet 4, Sheet 4C, from $5,272,099.91 to $5,547,099.64. 3, miscellaneous revenues, Section B, state aid without offsetting appropriations, Sheet 5. Energy receipts tax, Public Law 1997, Chapters 162 and 167, Sheet 5, from $7,912,436 to $8,006,788. Total Section B, state aid without offsetting appropriations, Sheet 5, from $7,919,727 to $8,014,079. Summary of revenue, Sheet 11. 3, miscellaneous revenue, Sheet 11. Total Section A, local revenue, Sheet 11, from $5,272,099.91 to $5,547,099.64. Total Section B, local revenues, Sheet 11, from $7,919,727 to $8,014,079. Total miscellaneous revenue, Sheet 11, from $18,333,640 to $18,702,991.73. 5, subtotal general revenues, items 1, 2, 3, and 4, Sheet 11, from $28,568,640 to $28,937,991.73. Number 6, amount to be raised by taxes for support of municipal budget, Sheet 11. A, local taxes for municipal purposes, including reserve for uncollected taxes, Sheet A, from $35,715,022 to $35,339,168. Total amount to be raised for taxes for support of municipal budget, Sheet 11, from $35,715,022 to $35,339,168. Number 7, total general revenues, Sheet 11, from $64,283,662 to $64,277,159.73. Current fund appropriations, 8, general appropriations. A, operations within cap, Sheet 15C. Joint Fire District Radio Project, inside cap costs, other expenses, Sheet 15C, from $0 to $30,000. Total operations, item 8A, within cap, Sheet 17A, from $40,751,356.22 to $40,781,356.22. Total operations, including contingent, within cap, Sheet 17A, from $40,757,356.22 to $40,787,356.22. Detail Sheet A, other expenses, including contingent, from $15,280,681.22 to $15,310,681.22. H-1, total general appropriations for municipal purposes within cap, Sheet 17A, from $48,757,785.22 to $48,787,785.22. 8, general appropriations, A, operations excluded from cap, Sheet 22. Shared service agreements, radio antenna joint project with Howell Township Board of Fire Commissioners, districts number 1 through 5, other expenses, from $150,000 to $120,000. Total interlocal service agreements, Sheet 22B, from $645,000 to $615,000. Total operations excluded from cap, Sheet 25, from $2,893,058.64 to $2,863,058.64. Detail other expenses, Sheet 25, $1,793,765.64 to $1,763,765.64. H-2, total general appropriations from municipal purposes excluded from cap, Sheet 28, from $12,048,023.64 to $12,018,023.64. O, total general appropriations excluded from caps, Sheet 29, from $12,048,023.64 to $12,018,023.64. M, reserve for uncollected taxes, Sheet 29, from $3,477,853.14 to $3,471,350.87. 9, total general appropriation, Sheet 29, from $64,283,662 to $64,277,159.73. 8, general appropriations, summary of appropriations, Sheet 30. A, operations excluded from caps, shared service agreements, Sheet 30, from $645,000 to $615,000. Total operations excluded from caps, Sheet 30, from $2,893,058.64 to $2,863,058.64. M, reserve for uncollected taxes, Sheet 30, from $3,477,853.14 to $3,471,350.87. Total general appropriation, Sheet 30, from $64,283,662 to $64,277,159.73. Be it further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution will be filed forthwith in the Office of the Director of Local Government Services for certification of the local municipal budget, so amended via the fast reporting system. Be it further resolved that this resolution, in accordance with the provisions of New Jersey It states annotated 40A:4-9, Section C, numbers 1 and 2, does not need to be published, and a public hearing on said amendment is not required. This amendment shall take effect immediately. I'm good.
So is everybody ready for the quiz?
Good.
So,
What was on page 22?
Clerk, you may do the roll call vote.
I make a motion to approve resolution 25-152.
I will make a motion to approve said resolution, rather.
Second.
Councilman Fisher. Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gager?
Yes.
Mayor Leggio?
Yes.
Thank you. The resolution passes.
Moving on to resolution R-25-153.
Resolution determining that the township's budget for the 2025 fiscal year shall be read by title only for the Township of Howell.
Does this have to go to the public?
Nope. No.
Motion to approve resolution 25-153.
Make a motion, R-25-153.
I'll second.
Councilwoman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gager?
Yes.
Mayor Leggio?
Yes.
Thank you. The resolution passes.
On to resolution R-25-128.
Adoption of the 2025 municipal budget.
Motion to adopt resolution 25-128.
I will
Motion to
make
adopt
that.
resolution 25-128.
I will second.
Councilwoman Fisher.
Yes.
Councilman Nadell?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Gager?
Yes.
Mayor Leggio?
Yes.
Thank you. The resolution passes and the budget has been properly adopted.
And thank you very much to administration, because despite what maybe some people may feel, I heard administration say no to several departments several times on things that they felt were not totally necessary in this budget. I know it's hard to say no to departments when you know that they're asking because, they like to have something, but
So I will say thank
Very,
you
very
for those
fiscally
kind words.
responsible.
I point to the professionals on this. It's a great crew, and thank you to council. This was probably the most active year we've had in terms of crafting the budget, and I think the product was all the better as a result. So I look forward to working with everybody this coming year,
okay, starting tomorrow?
starting tomorrow.
Next regular scheduled meeting will take place on May 20th, 2025. Executive session begins at 6 PM, and regular session will begin at 7 PM. I am seeing no further business before the council. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. That was exhausting. Did a good job, John.